my lovely people, and welcome to Owen's Mind, a light-hearted trip through the contents of my head and the world in general. It is Wednesday the 25th of September. My name is Owen, and here is what is on my mind today. So, as always guys, 5 stories for today's news I wanted to give my thoughts on. Links are in the description so you can read the articles in full and show the original publishers some love. So, let's get into it. Story number 1. And story number 1, quite a heavy story today to start with from BBC News. Batman shooting victims' families horrified by the Joker film's violence. So, families of the people killed during a screening of The Dark Knight in 2012, this took place at a cinema in Aurora, Colorado, have written to Warner Brothers with concerns at the new Joker film and have urged the studio to join action against gun violence. So, Sandy Phillips, whose daughter was one of the 12 people killed that day, told the BBC News she was horrified by the Joker trailers. She and her husband, who runs Survivors Empowered, an anti-gun violence group, wrote to Warner Brothers along with 3 other people whose relatives were killed or injured and caught up in that shooting, and have urged action. Okay, they said, so speaking to BBC News, Ms. Phillips said, when I saw the trailers for the Joker movie, I was horrified. And when I dug a little deeper, she found out there's levels of unnecessary violence in the movie, and it chilled me to my bones. It makes me angry that a major motion picture company isn't taking responsibility and doesn't have the concerns of the public at all. So the family's letter says, when we learned Warner Brothers was releasing a movie called Joker that presents the character as a protagonist with a sympathetic origin story, it gave us pause. In the letter they state, we support your right for free speech and free expression, but anyone who has ever been a comic book movie can tell you with great power comes great responsibility. Good pull. That's why we're calling you to use your massive platform and influence to join us in our fight to build safer communities with fewer guns. Okay, so they've not asked them to pull the movie or censor it in any way. What they've said is they've asked to lobby for gun reform, help survivor funds of gun violence and intervention schemes, and end political contributions to candidates who said it has a long history of donating, candidates who take money from the National Rifle Association, NRA. Okay, so this is it. They have, you know, legitimate concerns. They were affected very directly, and by this shooting, I'm not going to name the shooter. He doesn't need any publicity. But if you want to read into that story, is, you know, obviously it's a deeply saddening, troubling story, and it was directly related to the details of the stories that the person in question. Into a screening of The Dark Knight, he was dressed in tactical clothing and carrying multiple weapons and explosives, and did some very, very heinous things. Warner Brothers, for its part, has said, make no mistake, neither the fictional character Joker nor the film is an endorsement of real-world violence of any kind. They have a long history of donating to the victims of violence, including 2012 cinema shooting in Aurora. Says Joker, which is released in the US on the 4th of October, has received rave reviews and has been tipped for Oscar nominations. It is not the intention of the film, the filmmakers, or the studio to hold this character up as a hero. So Warner Bros. Is making it very clear, look, you know, the film, although violent, does not portray it as heroic or as a sympathetic character. However, some of the big trades, their movie critics, have said, and I'll quote a few of them. Time Magazine's Stephen Zacharek said it was guilty of aggressive and possibly irresponsible idiocy. Variety's reviewer Owen Gleiberman said the film does something that flirts with danger, gives evil a clown mask makeover, turning it into the sickest possible form of cool. And IndieWire's critic David Ehrlich wrote that while there were moments of shocking violence, the story can't help but feel aspirational. So yeah, my thoughts on this: any movie violence is unnecessary. Movie violence is an artistic choice. It doesn't need to be there. You can tell a story with a violent theme and you can imply it. You can shoot around that. It doesn't need to be there. It's an artistic choice. Having said that, it does have a greater impact on the movie-going audience if you actually see it. The violence is visceral. It gives it a realism. But then, are movie studios and filmmakers therefore responsible? Should it be on them to censor themselves because a very small percentage, a tiny percentage of the population like this individual, for example, can be affected by it in a very negative way and lead them to do very horrible things. It is a tough one. It's a tricky one. You cannot. It's like most things. Can we legislate for the masses to try and deal with a few individuals? It's, for example, like they were saying, should we? They brought in a sugar tax in the UK because there's a percentage of the population who are obese, and it's been blamed on high sugar foods and that kind of thing. So it's an alcohol tax, which was, there is now a minimum price per unit on alcohol in the UK because people were taking advantage of low priced alcohol and getting drunk and getting ill and needing medical attention and so on and so forth. So it's a mass legislation to deal with a smaller percentage of the population, not the majority. And it's the same here. Do we encourage them to dial back what they show on screen because an individual might take it as a call to arms? For me, I'd say no. The shooter in Aurora, his defense was largely based on he had a mental illness defense, saying he was mentally ill and this, that, and the other. I don't think that was bought by the judge or the jury. They didn't use it as a mitigating circumstance. They gave him a very, very, very substantial sentence. No sentence is going to bring back those families and the people who died, but they gave him as big a sentence as they could. So they didn't take it into account. So, but if it was the case, if this person did have psychological problems, could the argument not be made that his path might have led here anyway, and the movie just gave him an opportunity or it gave him a means, it gave him a route. And you could argue, well, anything could have triggered that. A video game could have triggered that. Violent literature could have triggered that. The news, the violence you see on the news, which is real violence. Remember, movie violence it's fictional. The stuff you see on the news is all real. When you see, horrible images of like war crimes and things that have happened in countries, and they show you mass graves and things, those are real people. Does that not have an effect on people? Does that not have a negative effect? Plus the fact when they show on the news other footage of mass shootings, and they seem to be happening so much recently, they're all over the news, and we find out who the shooter is, and we find out his or her lifestyle, and they're not idolized, but you get to know a lot, but they get a certain level of infamy. So is that not irresponsible? Is that not going to trigger the next person to follow in their footsteps, and as much as any movie would? I don't know. It's a tricky one. It's easy for me to say, well, it's not the movie's fault, because I grew up watching very violent films and playing very violent video games and reading very violent comic books. But that's just me speaking as an individual. I cannot speak to the reaction of the entire populace. But just for me, I'd say it never affected me. But then I can't say, well, it's never going to affect anybody. So it's a tough one. I think the family's letter was fair. It was, we're not saying pull your movie. They're saying that they're horrified by the violence. And having seen the Joker trailers, I don't see, for me, there's not a lot of horrific violence in them, because it's a trailer and it's more mass market, and you can't show that in a trailer because you don't know who's going to be watching it, because it's out in the real world and on YouTube and that. You're going to get people watching who are not of the age of the movie, which you have to buy a ticket to get into, so that can be policed a little bit. So for me, there's certain scenes where it implies kind of rioting. There's scenes where the Joker's getting battered and he's beaten and bloody. But I didn't see anything in there that was what I would consider, me personally, horrific violence. The film itself, from what I understand, there is scenes like that in there. So I get the point. Obviously, you feel for the families. Like I say, I think their response has been very measured. It's been, you've made your film. It's not our, we don't connect with it. We're not saying pull it, but we're saying if you're going to put this material out there, then at least distance yourself by saying, look, this is a movie. It is just a movie, and we do not support any kind of violence. And, but it sounds like Warner Brothers, for their part, are doing that. You just don't hear about it, but they do donate a lot of money to this kind of thing. So, to support victims and lots of anti-violence charities. So, I don't know. They have said that the movie is not going to be shown in the actual theatre in Aurora. So, again, classy move, the right decision. So, it's tough. It's one of them tough stories. I don't know if there's necessarily a right or wrong response to this. But for me, movies should be movies. We need to do more in regards identifying these individuals early on, and and counselling them through this kind of thing, because a lot of these things, and not in every case, but a lot of these cases, it is very much loner, socially awkward, didn't play well with us, that kind of thing. So if we can kind of address that, then maybe less of this would happen. And there's a whole argument about gun control, and I'm not going to get into that here. It's a separate issue, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Like I say, heavy story to start off with, so let's move on to the second one. So this one, very much a change of pace, light-hearted. Brit drinks shot containing the toe he lost to frostbite after donating it to a bar. So this is quite a famous challenge, actually. So the man drank a shot containing his own toe after losing it to frostbite. So this is the sourdough cocktail. And it is at Dawson's Downtown Hotel in Canada. And it's a long-running tradition to allow customers who lost their toes to frostbite to drink a shot of whiskey spiked with their own 7-digit. And this is in the Daily Mirror today. Local legend has it, it's a tradition that's been going on since the 70s. A local man named Dick Stevenson discovered an amputated toe while cleaning out a cabin and used it to launch the Sourdough Cocktail Club. This gentleman, the British man Nick Griffiths, is the latest member of the club, which now boasts 100,000 members, according to CBC. So he donated his toes to the bar after he suffered severe frostbite in a 2018 Yukon Arctic Ultra midwinter backcountry race, in which another man lost both of his feet. Doesn't sound like a race I want to take part in, but there you go, fair play to him. He had his toes removed after he returned to the UK via surgery, and then he mailed them to the Dawson. In order to join the Sourdough Cocktail Club himself, he was faced with the rule that he would have to let the frozen 7-digit touch his lips as he drank, which he did. And yeah, the Sourdough Cocktail Club congratulated him on Twitter for travelling all the way back to the Yukon from his Bolton home to complete the mission. On Monday, and there was pictures of him up online. He rated the cocktail as fine. He goes, I know it sounds quite revolting, but actually I did it and it's perfectly fine. I suppose it's just like having a black ice cube in there, he told CBC. You know it's your toe, you know where it's been. Yeah, I know where my toe's been, and I wouldn't want to, yeah. Anyway, the bar's manager, Adam Girl, added that the 7 big toes were a rare and coveted treasure at the hotel, and they saved the Baltimore resident's toe for him to do it. The bar reportedly solicits amputated digits in newspaper ads and is always on the lookout for more. Its Toe Master, there's a job title for you, preserves the amputated digits by storing them in rock salt and drying them out. So this is one of them challenges, and it's one of them, just to say you've done it. He lost his toe to frostbite, and he thought, well, why not? Why not? To kind of put a positive, humorous spin on it. But yeah, it's... His defence is, yeah, I know where my toe's been. I know where my toe's been, and I've walked through some nasty stuff. Have you ever seen people in sandals? These are not toes you want to actually put near your mouth. However, it's in whiskey, so it's sterilised. It's one of them challenges. People have done crazier things. I spent a little bit of time in China, and they had bottles of like rice wine with a lizard in, a full lizard, the full length of the bottle. I don't know if I got it in there. You get a ship in a bottle. This was a lizard in a bottle. That's far too big unless it's swelled with the alcohol. So it's a long tradition, there's tequila worm, there's always been objects, biological objects in alcohol, and it's fine. So there you go. He made Twitter very happy, made his friends happy by saying goodbye to his toe, wishing them well with a drink. And his toe was there at the time to enjoy it, so why not? Alright, moving on. Story number 3. This is a sweet one. It's in MSN today. An art student trained a pet rat to make paintings with his feet, and it's delightful. Look at that. That's Darius. So, these went viral. A photo series of Little Rat and an even smaller watercolour painting. So the artist is named Darius. He belongs to Amalie Makota Anderson, an animation digital arts student from Asken, Norway. Yeah, so apparently Darius made his first painting in 2018. She goes, when I had Darius, I got non-toxic watercolour set, dipped his little hands and feet in it and let him walk back and forth on paper until it started to look like something. It takes me about 10 minutes to create each picture. And she used to post them on Tumblr, and they went viral overnight. And yeah, she was really excited for it. She used the money to buy Darius. She actually sold the paintings and used the money to buy Darius a harness so that it could explore the outside world, because he's a domestic rat. So she didn't want to run off. She had a little harness for him so he could explore outdoors and kind of enjoy his life a little bit. She adopted him in 2017. His age was unknown at the time. She said he was described as timid and shy and cuddly like a little baby. Sadly, Darius passed away earlier this year, but she said the time they had together was extremely impactful on her. She's got 2 other rats at the minute, Gucci and Mango. She goes, I had him at a weird time in my life when I was trying to figure out who I was as a person and where I should be going in life. He was a light in my darkness, if you will. I'll be forever infinitely thankful for him, even if he never knew what kind of impact he had. Not only to me, but thousands of people who fell in love with him and his little painting. So there you go. It's just a little sweet story. And it's easy to be dismissive. It's like, oh, it's, people getting attached to pets and things. But no, it's, it's easy to be flippant. But, this was just this girl who had like a bond with this creature that came into her life, and it had a very positive impact on her. So, yeah, why not? Why not? They spent some time together. This rat got very well looked after, very well cared for. It gave her a great deal of pleasure to have him and to share what he did in the world, so why not? And it's good for rats, because let's face it, rats get a very bad rap because they're just deemed as vermin and this, that and the other, and it's like, yeah, but they also paint. And this rat did artwork that got sold. I've never painted anything that's got sold. So he's got one up on me. So yeah, fair play to him. So this girl and her rat, lovely little story, just 2 people, 2 creatures finding peace with each other, which is nice. Alright, moving on. Story number 4. Oh no, this is a disaster. So, fish and chips may be off the menu after North Sea cod levels plummet. So, yeah. Stocks have halved in just over 2 years. The Marine Stewardship Council today warns consumers that instead choose pollock hake or whiting after an alarming drop in numbers. So it thought that the stocks of cod in British waters were really healthy, but new advice says, which from the MSC, which sets international standards for sustainable fishing, has said otherwise. 2 years ago, marine conservationists hailed the fact that cod on the North Sea had recovered, and it suggested there was 152,000 tonnes in the region, which would have been the highest since 1982, and this is thanks to an extensive recovery plan. Forecast suggested that stocks would hit 180,000 tonnes this year. Brilliant. However, a report today by the International Council for the Exploration of the Sea, the world's oldest intergovernmental science organisation, it's a mouthful, so the actual figure is just over 81,000 tonnes. So that's like 100 tonnes less, 100,000 tonnes less, which is massive. So what it means for you and me is that the MSC has had to remove its sustainability badge from North Sea cod. So this is handed out to fisheries with healthy stock, so you will have seen this if you go into a restaurant. It's a little blue tick, and it says that this fish was caught through sustainable sources. So you're eating it it's going to be back into the food chain. Essentially, you're eating this food is not going to diminish numbers. It's sustainable. Brilliant. However, that's no longer the case because of this new report, which says stocks are not nearly what they should be. So industry is now vowed to work collectively to recover the stock over the next 5 years. It is not clear what is fueling the declines, although experts suggest it could be the result of factors such as warming waters driven by climate change and fewer young cod surviving into adulthood in the past 2 years. So any cod caught from the date of suspension, which is October 24th, will not be able to carry the sustainability levels. So that means you're going to have to make a choice, because anyone selling British cod after that time cannot have this sustainability on it. So you know that if you order it or eating it, you're adding to the decline essentially. It's no longer sustainable. So I guess that's a moral choice for us all. For me, I love fish and chips. I mean, obviously there's other ways to prepare cod, but for me, my usual way is fish and chips. I love fish and chips. However, I probably couldn't tell you if I'm eating cod and chips, haddock and chips, pollock and chips. I don't know. I wouldn't be able to tell you. So, yeah, that's going to be down to you and your moral position. If it's like, you know what, it's just one cod. But again, like I said the other day about kind of things happening at the consumer level, if your local fish restaurant is buying in cod that's not sustainable and serving it to you, that's your choice, because that's what it is. If they don't buy it and serve it to you, then you can't order it. You can't. There's no moral choice for you to make, because like, we don't have cod, we've got haddock, we've got whiting, we've got pollock, take your pick. Okay. So again, it's going to be down to individual restaurants, I guess. But yeah, it's going to be down to them. It's going to be down to you. Some restaurants will continue to buy it and just say, look, it's not sustainable. It's up to you. And you can say, well, I only eat once a week, or I do this or do that. Or you can say, no, I'm not going to order that because it's not sustainable and I care about the environment and things going forward, so I'll order something else. Or hopefully the better solution to me is just that restaurants just don't order it. Until stocks have recovered, they serve an alternative. So, yeah, it's like anything at the minute. Environmental issues and the climate change and the vegetarian movement and all of this rolled into one about, you know what, things are just not sustainable the way they used to be, because we have a massive population worldwide. We have far more intensively farmed foods. We have areas of land that are being cleared to make room for beef cattle and this kind of thing. So there's other things that can't be grown, and that's land is not being utilised as efficiently as it can. And so it's just a general theme going forward that this planet needs help. It needs us to be more responsible. And this is just a little piece of that massive overall picture that's going on at the minute. So, yeah, for me, if there is a choice on the menu, if I go in and it is cod or haddock, I'll take haddock. But like I say, for me, my palate really can't tell the difference. If yours can, then it might be a harder choice for you. For me, no. And I don't have fish and chips every other night anyway. It's a now and again thing. So, but yeah, there you go. Fish and chips. Moving on, last story. This is a good one. So, people are using Fesshole to get some very dark confessions off their chest. I'm very kind of missing my words today. I do apologise. Anyway, this is in the Metro today. Yes, so holding on to secrets is bad for your health. So sometimes it's good to just get stuff off your chest. And Fesshole, which is a Twitter account, allows you to do just that. Okay, so this was set up by a bot supremo called Rob Manuel, a man behind Clickbait Bot and Swear Clock. And it reminds us how dark and depraved we really are. So essentially what he's done is set up a Twitter page that you can post to anonymously. It goes through a Google form and then gets posted to this Fesshole Twitter account. So you can put anything you like. You know what, I've wanted to tell people this for years, but I can't because I'd get into trouble or people would think badly of me. You can now put out there for others' amusement, entertainment, and comment. Yes, there's a lot of examples in the article, which I can't read here. There's a few I can, so I'll read them out for you, just to give you a little taste of what this is actually like. So somebody wrote, when I'm in the shower and I happen to have the runs, I sometimes just do a right there and mash the lumps down the plug hole. But they add, I take out any clogged hair first, I'm not a savage. So there you go, it's good to have standards, isn't it? I got curious and stuck a carrot up my arse, then panicked and thought my parents would notice the missing carrot, so I returned to the cupboard. We ate it for dinner that night. So, yeah, if you've got any confessions you want to add, then by all means do, and it's this Fesshole page. Now, obviously, a lot of these people are going to just make stuff up for comic effect, but it just sounds a little bit light-hearted. There is a really unpleasant one on there about somebody who they drove their cat out into the middle of the forest to let it live with the squirrels because it had done its business on their favourite jacket. So I hope that one's made up, because that's horrible. But yeah, it is just a bit of fun. Slight concern is that if you've got something genuine you put on there and you're essentially looking for some sort of validation, and you put this up and then all the comments are, you are a truly horrible person, that might, But aside from that, I think people are going to take it in the spirit it's made, and they're just going to go nuts, write crazy stuff on there. Some of it will be true, some of it will be made up, as long as it's all funny and nobody's getting hurt by it, so what? It doesn't look like people are naming names and saying, I did it to this person on this date. It's, it is, everyone's relatively vague about who they are and where it is, and it is posted anonymously, so go check it out. I've had a look at it. It is really funny, so why not? So that's it, guys. Links to all of the stories. Stories? What is wrong with me today? I'm feeling pretty good today, so I don't know what it is. Links to all the stories I've discussed today can be found in the description below, so feel free to go and check them out. Let me know what you think about this video, and tell me, what embarrassing secret have you never told anyone? Answer in the comments, please, along with any thoughts you'd like to share. These were mine. They're not necessarily important. They're not necessarily right or wrong. They're just what was on my mind. So until next time, bye for now.